Have you ever gotten advice from somebody and you just knew, like, the instant that they gave you the advice that you couldn't use it?
Yes.
Well, maybe if that hasn't happened to you, have you ever gotten a ton of conflicting advice from multiple people that are just saying opposite things and you didn't really know what to do?
Yep, gotten that too. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to manage different suggestions or conflicting feedback. Of course, the title is Quit Listening to Your Mom. Sorry, Mom. We've had great supporting parents, but for most people, that isn't the case. So, yeah.
I feel like mom stands for a bunch of other different people.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it.
We just picked one person.
We got to roll the intro first.
Okay.
Welcome to the Let's Quit podcast.
Quitting is not always a bad thing.
If you have the right mindset, quitting can be the most powerful tool you have on your journey to success. It's certainly been helpful for us.
Whether it's flying through hurricanes, building our businesses, or just trying to get to bed on time, we're always trying to level up and improve our lives.
This is the show where we share the lessons, experiences, and friends that have helped us live this incredible life. So let's quit the bad and grow the good together.
All right, so welcome everybody. Thanks for listening. And we want to especially thank this week's new listeners and our patrons. So thank you so much to those of you who have reached out and support us. You really do help us do what we do, like make this podcast. You're awesome.
Yeah, and we'd love a review of the show. If you're enjoying the show and you got some feedback that you want to leave, please give us a review on the podcast app of your choice, whether that be Apple Podcasts or wherever, or a YouTube comment, same thing. We can get your feedback there. So if you don't know, we also post this to the Let's Quit Podcast YouTube channel. So if you like viewing it that way, or you want it in the background at work or something like that, you can also check it out there. Today is a not real pants day.
Yeah?
Yeah. I just woke up this morning and I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling real pants. So I am wearing pants.
Yes, he is wearing pants. We will clarify. The pants are on his body. So if he stands up and leaves this room during the podcast, you guys will be okay. You don't need to shield your eyes and your children and your coworkers. Everything is okay.
But I don't know. You ever have those days where you just wake up and you're just not feeling it? That was me this morning. And pants were just too much. They were asking too much.
Really?
The pair of blue jeans was just way too constricting. So I put on some sweatpants. We should just be doing media work today, so it shouldn't be a big deal.
It's okay to be a sweatpants day. I think yesterday was a sweatpants day for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't even remember.
People working from home, I feel like you'll get us. Like now that you've worked from home in sweatpants enough, you're like, going back to dress pants? Are you joking?
But you got to be careful too. Like sometimes, like dressing in sweatpants, like really hurts your productivity. You don't realize it, but like your brain sort of checks out because you think, oh, sweatpants day, not a big day.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just a balance. You got to figure out. Everything in life is a balance.
I used to have a friend who took that so seriously in high school that whenever we had like a big Spanish test or anything, she would literally dress up and like specifically look very nice because, I don't know, she believed that to her core, that when she looked really nice, she felt better and would do better on the test. So like every 2 Fridays, she would dress up really nice for the Spanish test. I don't know if it worked for her.
Did it work? Yeah, that was my next question.
I think it did. I think it did. She did well in the class. So.
Okay, well, if you want to be super extra, I guess dress up. I don't know. What, dress for the job you want? Was that kind of her mentality?
Dress for the grade you want? I have no idea.
Interesting. Well, in other news, we got tattoos.
We did.
Yeah, some people have already pointed out in the YouTube video this week that they saw them. We both got one. They are not matching tattoos.
No, they're not matching.
Jenny, do you want to describe yours first?
Yeah, so mine is like... I guess I'll just describe exactly what it looks like. It's a diamond-shaped like outline, and then it's got like a little desert cactus scene on it with like a big crescent moon.
Where is it?
I like it. It's really cool. Yeah, so the mountain outline is...
No, where is it? Where's the tattoo?
Oh, it's on my bicep. It's on my right bicep. I thought you meant like where is the scenery, because that's got a story.
I know what you thought I meant.
Yes, so it's on my arm, it's on my bicep, but the actual scene or like the mountainscape that it's from is a mountain that we used to hike all the time when we lived in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So
that's cool. Yeah, mine is just a band on my left arm. It's got a P-51 Mustang silhouette.
Why P-51?
Because that's my favorite plane, and I'm gonna buy one day. So
okay.
Anyway.
Very nice.
And then the band Benueta style is 12 inches up my arm. So I can measure 12 inches like within a 16th of an inch.
Yeah, she got it pretty accurate.
Yeah. So really excited about that. Again, it's not super critical, but the band is also like a 1/4 inch wide. So I can always tell. I have trouble telling the difference between like 3/8 and 1/4 and a half. And so, I don't know. It's just going to help me gauge stuff pretty often that, I don't know, it's a small measurement that I need to reference pretty often. So,
right.
Again, not super, it's not why I got the tattoo, but I don't know, just convenient tool opportunities, I guess.
But yeah, I think she did a really good job on ours. They both turned out really, really good.
Yeah,
so
I'm excited. And,
I like them.
Yeah, I like it so far. Yeah, so it's been a couple weeks since we posted a podcast or a YouTube video. Where have we been, Jenny?
So November was a super busy month for us, and I talked about this a little bit in the newsletter if you're subscribed to our newsletter emails, but like we got back from Mississippi from all of our Air Force training and we went like crazy, nose to the grindstone. We put out like 4 videos, 4 blog posts. We started the podcast, put out 3 episodes. So we were going crazy for the whole month of November, and then finally we got to the end near Thanksgiving.
That wasn't crazy.
It's not crazy
because that's our new routine. Like,
yeah,
I didn't feel like we were going crazy.
It was just comparatively to like what we had been doing when we lived in Mississippi, which was not as much as we do now. So,
right, but we were in the groove, so to speak. We weren't really going crazy.
We enjoyed it. It was good,
and we weren't burnt out either. That's the main thing.
But we had it was a big shift. We went from like being in Mississippi to not having a schedule like that because we couldn't, to having a schedule like that, and it was really good. Like, I'm so glad we could get into that, swing of things. But it was like our first month doing it, and so then we got to Thanksgiving, and we're like, we're just gonna hang out with family and friends, and so we went deer hunting with some family, and that was a lot of fun. We were not successful in the hunting part, unfortunately, but
yeah, we went deer hunting, not deer harvesting.
Yes.
They were all around us, but the trees were so thick behind us we couldn't get a shot back there if we wanted to. So anyway, there's always next year.
Yep.
You found a new friend in the woods.
Yes. So when we were sitting in our deer stand, we heard like some rustling kind of behind us, and so instantly we're like, is that a deer? And then we turned, and of course it wasn't. It was like a little pine squirrel, and they are so cute. They're just these little balls of like red fur, and they've got big, cute, adorable eyeballs.
No, let me set the scene for you. Everybody's seen a red squirrel, or at least a picture of one. Like, so cute. It's just a squirrel. So we're sitting there in the deer stand, and I see this squirrel kind of bouncing around, and so I'm eating trail mix, and so I just toss him a couple of cashews or whatever out the door, and I'm just like chilling, waiting for deer to come by. And Snow White over here has already named this squirrel.
It's Edward.
She's named this squirrel like she's just already imagining a life with this squirrel.
Okay, I was not imagining a life,
yes,
but you're sitting in a deer stand for 10.5 hours, not seeing anything. You take a little break, and I just found this cute little squirrel. But it ran up to our stand, and so Davis like pulled out his phone and set it up against the deer stand, because he makes it sound like I was the only one that enjoyed this squirrel. Not true. He was the one that was feeding it trail mix. And so he leaned his phone up against the deer stand, like the door, and the squirrel ran like within an inch of his phone camera. And so we had this really cool video of like an up close shot of Edward and his cute fluffy tail, and we made a TikTok out of it. So if you want to go see Edward, check out our TikTok, because that's where that video lives. That was it. That was my squirrel story.
We also got...
I was just going to say, on like actual woodworking note, we got a new drum sander.
Yes, very excited about the new drum sander. It is because everybody's going to ask, it is a Supermax, what is it, 1938, whatever. It's the big one. It's the big one. It's the biggest one you can get that is still cantilevered over. So you can theoretically have a, 38-inch or 36-inch top.
Yeah.
Anyway, not important. We got a big new tool for those that don't know. It's a big like metal cylinder. You wrap sandpaper around it, and then a motor spins that cylinder, and then you pass boards or whatever you want underneath the cylinder, so it sands it much faster than you can use a hand sander.
Yeah, and it feeds it all on its own. So it's doing this, like, you do zero work except for putting it in and taking it out.
Right. So it's a total game changer. It's really going to help us with our cutting and charcuterie boards, with our woodworking business.
I feel like it saves, like, probably a good 10 minutes from each board.
No, I would say so. It's just, it was hard to find one because we ordered one several months ago, like back in the spring, and they were so back ordered because of quarantine. Everybody's woodworking more, and they were just
You're at home looking for something to do, and that's what people wanted to do.
right. And so they were back ordered from the company, and we didn't know when we were going to get one. But we put our order in, and we sort of had an estimate on a shipping date. Well, 3 or 4 months goes by. We never got a shipment notification. So I see that the money has been refunded on our credit card, and I go back and I look at the order, and they had canceled it like a month before.
And we got no notifications.
Let
we
me
had no idea.
Let me throw this company under the bus. Rockler had canceled it a month before. No email notification, no account updates, nothing. Like, the only reason that I knew that it was canceled was because they put the money back on the credit card, which I'd have thought they weren't allowed to charge a credit card till it shipped. So I don't know what's going on.
I don't know how that all worked. That
Anyway,
was just a weird
we were kind of
situation.
upset because we've been waiting on this tool for like 3 months.
And we had ordered it early enough so that we could time the shipment so that it would get here right when we got back from Mississippi, so we could instantly start using it once we got back to the shop.
Right.
But then obviously now that wasn't the case.
Anyway, so we got rid of that order, and then we found a buddy of ours, Richard from 42 Fab. He had one just collecting weld spatter in the corner of his shop.
Yeah.
So he sold it to us for a great price, and we're super happy to have it now. And should move on accordingly. I guess the next big piece of equipment that we get is going to be huge because we pretty much got everything we need, other than like small power tools we might need to replace. But
Yeah, I think we were just talking about that the other day.
The
So we're like,
next-
what's next? And we're like, I don't know if it'd fit in our garage. Whatever's next.
that's for another podcast. But anyway, we're leveling up there. We're super excited. We're just giving you an update on what we've been doing. Speaking of which, this week we've been doing a prototype of the coffee table we want to build.
Yes.
So we sort of talked about it in the YouTube video this week. We want to have a menu of woodworking furniture items that people could order from. Slight customization options, but anyway, the first item on that menu is going to be a coffee table. So we've been building that prototype because we need a new coffee table.
Yes, we also need a new coffee
Well,
table.
we don't need a new one.
It's just, I don't know. It'd be nice
We
to have
got
an
sick.
upgrade.
We got sick of the coffee table we had, and because we're makers and we make stuff.
We get sick of it easier because we know we can replace it easier. I feel
Right.
like.
And it was it was an easy excuse to build a new coffee table. So
Yeah.
that'll be the prototype. We're going to take it to a friend's house next week and
Take some pictures.
Take some
Get them up on
pictures.
the website. Make some flyers. Because I think we talked in a previous YouTube video. I don't know if we mentioned it on the podcast, but in our like cutting and charcuterie board boxes that we send to people, we have little flyers in there advertising all the other products that we do. And right now, those other products are just the boards. So if you buy a cutting board, we'll put a slip in there advertising the charcuterie boards and vice versa. But we want to create a flyer with those coffee tables on it also so that we can stick those in the board boxes when we sell them.
yeah. So that's what we've been up to the last couple of weeks. I hope you've had a great time with your families and stuff. Yeah, it's just been a nice time to sort of take your foot off the gas. Oh, and then we went to Mississippi to catch up on some days with our unit out there. So
Yep,
we're
did
all
some
caught
training.
up. Nobody needs to bother us for quite a while. Kind of excited about that one. So we can just
that will be so nice.
go back to the grindstone and keep our heads down for a little bit.
Yep.
So. All right, Jenny, why don't you hit him with the quote for this week?
Yes. So this week's quote is, "Do not underestimate the effects of your pessimistic, unambitious, or disorganized friends." And that's by Timothy Ferriss. So author of 4-Hour Workweek, if you guys have ever checked that one out. If you
Right.
haven't, check it out. It's good.
Right. And so the line right after that, which I kind of wish I'd put it in. So it's don't underestimate the effects of your terrible friends. And then the last line to that is if someone's not making you stronger, they're making you weaker. So it's a pretty powerful quote. I think it really kind of sums up, not that your mom is pessimistic, unambitious, or disorganized, but I don't know, maybe she is.
But I mean, there are probably some people in your life that you can think of that are, maybe pulling you down a little bit, a little pessimistic, and you've never really thought about it before. But if you stop and think about it, you're like, wow, that person is typically very negative, and I don't realize it's bringing me down, but
It just does so much. Like your brain is a sponge. It absorbs everything around you. And if your friends are constantly pessimistic, unambitious,
Right.
or disorganized, like that's going to rub off on you. It's just a bad behavior that if you don't want to pick it up, too bad. You're going to pick it up if you keep spending time with those people. So be very cautious of who you spend your time around, which goes hand in hand with our title topic for today. Quit listening to your mother. You want to unpack that a little bit before everybody starts hating on their mothers and all the mothers start hating on us?
Yeah, it's more so the second one, I feel like. But yeah.
We got to call it from your mom. As soon as we teased the title in the last episode, your mom called and was like, I got beef with y'all.
Yeah, she was like, what is, well, my mom's not from the South, so she doesn't say y'all, but and she's like, what do you mean by stop listening to your mother? And she was like half joking, but we're like, we'll explain it later. And then that's when we left for all our training and everything. So we haven't made a podcast in a couple of weeks. So sorry we left you hanging, Mom, but this is what we mean. So when we say mom, we don't specifically mean mom. We just mean a person or somebody who's not like qualified to give you advice or may not lead you down like the path that you need to be going.
When you're trying to share your goals with your friends and family, it's the holidays. Everybody's going to be talking about what they've been doing, what they're trying to do next, whether they're going to college or starting a new job or quitting or changing career path. Like anytime you try to change something significant in your life and you tell people close to you, some people, there's always somebody that either shoots it down, gives you bad advice, or they don't even realize that they're being destructive to your new plans. They honestly think that they're helping.
Right.
Which is why we chose mom, because it's usually somebody close to you. And so the mom in this case is someone who's close to you that, kind of like Jennie said, is giving you advice or trying to help you, but they don't realize that they're doing more damage than they are helping.
Right. And maybe for you, that's not your mom. For us, that's definitely not our moms. We are very blessed that we have like extremely supportive families with building this business. Like, I mean, we are so thankful that our family is so like uplifting and supportive and positive about what we're doing. But we've definitely had friends and other people in our lives who were kind of in that position that were like, thought they were helping and maybe they definitely weren't, or they just had no idea what advice to give us and they thought they were helping and it was actually like the opposite of what we need to be doing. But they were so close to us where we're like, well, they just seem like good people, so maybe we should listen. And it's just a very confusing place to be in. And we understand for some people that might be your mom or somebody in your family. So...
Right. So let's bring this down to earth. Let's give some concrete examples of when this has happened to us. So first and foremost, like what we mean, the general concept is that when people give advice when they don't have authority in that realm.
Yeah.
So that could be your mom, could be Uncle Joe, could be anybody in your life that's giving you advice when they don't have the authority to be giving advice. And the reason that's a problem is because people take advice from people who don't have authority there. You take advice from your mom on what to do for a career progression when your mom has never been an engineer before. If your mom's got an art degree and you go into engineering and then your mom's giving you advice on how to be an engineer or how to get the job, like there's this difficult transition, post high school or post college or when you change directions in life where the current people are trying to give you advice for your next thing. And if they haven't done that next thing, you really shouldn't be taking their advice. But because these people are close to you and they're trusted people,
right,
we take their advice seriously. So I want to kind of get you to snap out of that. And a couple of examples from our life. Number one, like when we decided to get out of the military,
yeah,
a lot of people came out of the woodwork to give us their advice on what we should do.
And it's funny because it's like, have you ever left the military? No,
so,
because you're still here.
Right. So you stole my punchline from me. But like the people that were giving us the most amount of advice from from leaving the military were people that were still in the military,
right,
people that had been in for 15, 20 years trying to tell us what to do or what to think about when we got out. Like, oh, how are you going to get health insurance? What are you going to do for a paycheck? But then your housing, and then what if you need to like leave? Like, who's going to support? Like all these like pseudo valid points that were valid if you were still in the military. But like, anyway, it was hard to find good advice from people because all the people that had left the military and experienced that before were not around us because we're still in the military. We're still in Minot, North Dakota. And we were
in the thick of it.
Right. We didn't have anybody to talk to who had gotten out of the military because they were gone. So all we were doing was getting like bombarded with people's advice, and people, they're just genuinely trying to help. They don't realize what they're doing. Like
because that is a fair question. Like, for hot button topics that really worry people, like healthcare. What are you going to do for healthcare? How are you going to get another paycheck once you leave the military? Those are all very good questions because they're necessary for life.
Right, but but they were pitching it as an unsolvable problem.
Correct.
Don't leave. And again, this is where like people start to get really weird. Like we mentioned this a couple podcasts ago. When you try to level up in life, when you try to call your own home run, like when you set a goal and you say, I'm going to achieve it, the world starts to like kick back against you because you're saying that your situation is not good enough for you, but it's plenty good enough for the people around you. So they start to get really weird and antsy. Like, why is this not good enough for you? Does that mean I'm not good enough for you? And they get jealous and weird. Anyway, it just gets nasty. So hopefully people in your life are not that toxic, but you got to be prepared for that kind of stuff. And when you start to recognize that they're giving advice when they're kind of outside of their lane, that's when a red flag should pop up and you should say, hey, are you really qualified to give us advice? Or when you're asking people for advice, ask the people that are qualified to give you that advice.
Right. So on kind of to give like the result or the outcome or what made us like realize that these people were not giving us the advice we needed was when we did talk to some of these people in our new jobs that had left full-time Air Force and they had answers to all these questions. No longer was it people like bombarding us with what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It was, oh, hey, I was in your exact situation and here's what I did. And we were like, finally, an answer to all the questions that everybody's been asking because we finally were talking to the people who were doing what we wanted to do. And I feel like the topic of money also ties in really well with what we're talking about. I know we're just touching on all the sensitive things today, but...
Yeah, so like for us, we were in quite a bit of debt from college. We had good, stable jobs with the military, government jobs. They weren't going anywhere. We got to a certain point where we decided what we wanted out of our lives or what we wanted to try to accomplish in life. And we'll just share a couple of them. So like the first one, we already talked about it with the tattoo. I want to buy a P-51 Mustang. Right now, they cost around $3 million. They're probably going to go up from there. And then that's my selfish goal. But we also have a goal that we want to write $1 million check to a charity. Don't know what charity, don't have all the details yet, but like one of our goals is that we want to write $1 million check to some sort of a charity. Yeah. And when we started outlining these goals, we realized that what we want to accomplish in life requires quite a bit of money.
Yes.
We want to be good stewards of what we've been given and our talents and abilities and use them and maximize them. We started realizing that we were going to have to make quite a bit of money. Yeah. And so we put this sort of arbitrary, but not really arbitrary rule in place of like, we don't take financial advice from anybody who has a net worth of less than $5 million. And pretty soon that's going to be raised to like $10 million because like we're going to outgrow that advice. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, even for something as sensitive as money, and like we have no friends and family that have more than $5 million that we know of at least. And so
unless you guys are keeping secrets from us or something I don't know.
Which is probably the smart move to make.
Yeah, right.
But what we're trying to say is like, we have a lot of loving family members that have done well in life that by no means are bad with money. It's just that we are not taking advice from anybody who has a net worth of less than $5 million. And I know that sounds kind of harsh and, could be taken the wrong way. And of course, you can't tell your friends and family that. You can't say to their face, I'm not taking money advice from you. You're too poor.
Because that's not at all what it is. You're
right.
It's just different. You're just setting a different goal. And there's nothing wrong with being different. Like, nobody is in the wrong in that situation. They're just different.
Right. But it's really hard to convince your friends and family of that.
Correct.
Especially when there's a strong emotional bond there. But that emotional bond doesn't have to carry into every single part of your life. You don't have to take advice from somebody just because you love and care about them. Right? So... Yeah. Anyway, I guess that's what we're saying is like, you don't need to listen to all the advice from people that are close to you. Just listen to the advice that they're qualified to give. Anyway, so once we started taking the advice from like people that have made significantly more money than anybody we know, we got out of debt so fast. Yes. We went from, we'll say rough numbers, like we went from $100,000 in the hole to $100,000 on top in just like 2 years. Like, we really got our act together, and that's when we started the business. That's when we bought a new truck. That's when we started buying all these tools, all these assets that make us money, instead of buying a boat or jet skis or, other stuff that we were tempted to buy at the time.
Very tempted to buy at the time.
But fortunately, we listened to that advice. We didn't take the bait on anything, and I'm so much happier now that we have a business, that we've got plans to grow, than if I had had a boat.
Right.
And for some people, that's not the case. But for us and our goals and what we want to accomplish, that was the right move for us. So I'm not saying that everybody has to adopt that rule, but, take a look at what you're trying to accomplish and start taking advice from people that are qualified to give advice in that goal.
Okay, yeah, I think we came to the realization that everything just becomes more individualized. Like, once you decide what you want to do in life, that is very specific to you.
Yeah. So also, to relate this back to like a business lesson, because a lot of our listeners are probably woodworking business owners or something in that vein, like, your customers should not be telling you how to run your business. We listen to so many people on Instagram and YouTube comments just like terrified because a customer told them that they should do something different than what they're doing, and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to make the decision for themselves because they're taking their customers' advice seriously. And I'm here to tell you, like, other than determining what product you should sell to your customers, and even then in a limited capacity, who's the guy that started Ford? I know his last name's Henry Ford.
Henry Ford. Oh my God.
Anyway, Henry
That was
Ford.
pure gold.
Henry Ford. I knew his name was Ford. Shut up. I knew his last name was Ford.
Sorry,
Henry
keep going.
Ford is famous for saying, like, if I had asked the people what they wanted, they would have asked for a faster horse.
Yes.
And then I built them an automobile. So even in that capacity, your customers should not be telling you like what you should be providing to them or to sell to them. But your customers should not be telling you how to run your business. They shouldn't be telling you that your price is too expensive. Customers are supposed to complain about price.
Yeah, that comes from just being two completely different roles. One's a consumer and one is a creator. You're not supposed to think about the same things. Otherwise, we would not have like the construct of business who sells and consumer who buys. Like, you have to have two different mindsets.
Right. And so you got to start qualifying where you're getting your advice from. And 9 times out of 10, when somebody is struggling with conflicting advice, one of the two or multiple people giving advice are not qualified to be giving that advice. Mm-hmm. That's why it's conflicting. Like, you really don't hear a lot of inconsistencies at the top level. I mean, go watch Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, and Ed Mylett, and I don't know, a couple of other, Tony Robbins, a couple of like really high business people. They're all preaching about the same message. Right. There's not a lot of conflicting information among the professionals in a given like tier. So when you're getting conflicting advice, that should be another red flag of like, hey, I should maybe audit where I'm getting this advice from, because somebody's not qualified to be giving advice. Otherwise, they should be preaching something close to the same message.
Right.
And again, like you said, when we got out of the military and we started talking to people in the reserves, everybody was pretty much on the same path, because there is one best way to do it. There's multiple ways you can do it, but there's really just one ideal way for most people. So when you're getting conflicting advice, I guess that's all we're trying to say is that should be a red flag to audit where you're getting your advice from, and just to take a second look at the credibility of the person you're taking advice from. This kind of rolls right into our action steps. So what should you do? You're trying to change your life. You're trying to level up. You're trying to improve. You're trying to do something new. What do you do if you're getting conflicting advice? We've given you a couple of general tips of like how to weigh the different advices, but what do you do going forward? How do you make a long-term goal if you don't even know what you're getting into?
Or how do you kind of like sidestep this whole situation of getting stuck in conflicting information?
All right, so Jennie, why don't you hit them with the first action step?
Yeah, so our first action step is to find a mentor. To kind of sidestep that whole situation of like getting conflicting information, not knowing who you can trust. Should I listen to this person? Should I not? If you kind of want to save yourself some time from having to separate everybody's information and consider it all separately, find a mentor who's done what you've done or is doing what you want to do someday. And from then on, like, take their advice. That's a safe person where you don't have to sit down and probably take 20, 30 minutes to think through, if the information they're giving you is good or not.
Right. So to find a mentor, because I got this advice to intentionally find a mentor, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, like post high school. Finding a mentor was kind of hard back then because you had to actually do the networking part. You had to actually shake hands and meet people and like start conversations. But now, 10 years down the road with the internet,
It's a whole different ballgame.
it's incredible. So anyway, let me back up a little bit. Step one is to determine your desired outcome. Figure out what it is that you want to accomplish. If you want to start a business, great. If you want to change careers, great. Like just sort of nail down like what is your trajectory change? What are you trying to fix, or where are you trying to end up? And then try to find people that are doing that. Just like Jennie said, find somebody who's doing that thing. Or if you can't find somebody actually doing that thing, which I don't know. I don't want to give this people as like, this is not a cop out, but like if you've searched all of YouTube and all of Google and you can't find anybody with a blog or a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be very hard to do in 2020.
Right.
Is not find somebody who's doing what you want to do.
Right. So if you can't find somebody who's doing what you want to do or vlogging about it or whatever, look again. And if you've looked again and honestly, like, then try to find somebody who's pursuing the same thing. Maybe you can't find someone who's actually, I can't even think of an example. Like, let's say you want to be a 3-star Michelin chef. I know there's a ton of like Gordon Ramsay's all over social media, but like, if let's say you can't, let's say in the internet, all cooking internet like disappears tomorrow, and you can't find a Michelin star chef on YouTube sharing what to do to get, you know, where you need to be, like, start following other people that are pursuing that thing. You know, at least get yourself around people that are trying to do the same thing, because when you find your people, things start to line up for you.
Yep, you're all struggling with the same things. Some of you are going to find answers to those questions faster than others, and you can instantly share it with everybody else.
Right. If you find somebody, ask for their help concretely. Like, if it's somebody local to you, ask for a meeting. And then don't just ask for a meeting. This is something that I made a mistake in, is I just asked, hey, will you be my mentor? Will you help me? Will you do this, that? Like, you're asking them a soft question of like, you're making them do more work. Now, if you come to them and you say, hey, I really respect what you've done. I see your history. I'm really interested in learning from you. I have these 6 questions. Would you be willing to sit down at Starbucks with me? That's a much easier thing for them to say yes to, because like, from their perspective, they get 50 emails like that a day of people asking to help them out or be a mentor or whatever. But then they've got to engage with that person, ask what they need, give a back and forth of a few answers.
Create like a mentorship plan for them.
Right. But if you come to them with that all figured out and you say, look, I've got 6 things I need help with. I mean, these are the questions we answer on Instagram. People come to us and they're like, hey, can you help me with something?
I'm just like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like you might not get a second response from us because we're so busy and we get so many messages like that. But if people come to us on Instagram and they're like, hey, what do I do about this? Here's a picture of this. Like, what do I do? Like, I'm having trouble with this part of the sales process. What do I do? Like, 9 times out of 10, we respond to those because we got time to do it. You come to us with a very simple thing that we can help tweak and move forward. So do the same thing with the mentors that you find. We did this with our business mentors. We started doing this online YouTube channel stuff, and we knew that our YouTube mentors had done it for a long time. So we reached out and we asked them one question of like, hey, what do I do for X, Y, and Z? They replied. We did a Skype phone call, and now all of a sudden we've got mentors that have been on the internet for 15 years now.
Yep.
And they've helped us out with a ton of stuff. So you got to come to them with a concrete question of how they can help you. Sort of tee the ball up for them. So that they can help you and then continue that relationship going forward. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the first action step, is to find a mentor. Hopefully that's enough like actual like
action, not theory or concept. Hopefully that's
these are action steps.
Yeah. But our next action step that we definitely recommend is, I mean, we've said it a million times in this podcast, but quit listening to advice from people outside their area of expertise. So if I wanted to, I don't know, start a bakery, I'm probably not going to go talk to a woodworker unless I wanted help building my tables. You know what I mean? Because they haven't done it. They've never run a bakery. They don't know what the cost is for any of the food and equipment. And I mean, it's just basic stuff.
And then the last action step is to just identify where your ideas and assumptions come from. So once you found a mentor and stuff, like, you're going to be doing a full audit of your brain because you're changing gears. You're going from one stage of life to the next, or you're going from one career field to the next. The mindsets that served you up until that point need to be upgraded. There's like your brain needs, to be really nerdy here, your brain needs a software update. So you got to go back and figure out what assumptions that you have or what beliefs that you have that need to be changed. For me, like I used to think when I started doing sales and stuff with the woodworking business, I used to get really scared and upset about like people hating me. And then I had to realize that like just because somebody's trying to sell you something doesn't mean that they hate you. Just because somebody doesn't want to buy your stuff doesn't mean that they hate everything about you. I don't know why my brain was wired that way, but
we've all
it
got
just
that
was.
kind of crazy thing that's ridiculous.
You got to go into your brain and figure out what weird, crazy, twisted, screwed up views that you have that are causing you problems with your new goal and get rid of them. Find a way to like just dig into it or like just heal the wound or whatever, traumas in your brain of like why you had that belief in the first place.
And I think that one, I don't know. I think the first action step of finding a mentor can really help you accelerate through that step, because sometimes you don't even know that you're doing something wrong or that you're holding like a very old mindset, but the person that's gone before you has probably gone through that same thing, and that's like, hey, have you ever realized that like you take it really personally if somebody doesn't want to buy your stuff, and you're like, whoa, yeah, I do, why is that?
Well, that's the other part is you gotta first develop a growth mindset, because if a mentor tells you something that you don't like, you're gonna blame the mentor, you're gonna do it wrong, you're gonna screw it up. And so we see this a lot. People reach out to us all the time asking about pricing and stuff like that, and we just straight up tell them like, dude, you're worth more, like charge higher prices. And they're not ready to listen to the fact that they've been doing it wrong.
Correct.
They're not like they don't want to hear that they've not been pricing high enough, so they push back against it. They start getting defensive. And you just can't do that in a business. Like if you're going to start, of course I keep using a business example, but that's where I think most of our listeners are, but you got to be ready to take that criticism.
You should almost like appreciate the criticism, because then you're not living blindly anymore. You're not
right.
You should appreciate, be like, whoa, yeah, I mean, that kind of hurts to hear that like I'm not charging enough or I'm doing something incorrectly, but think about how many hundreds of dollars that's going to save me or that I'm going to make going forward, because now I know that I'm not charging enough.
Yeah. So just separate your identity, I guess, or your self-worth as a human from your incapabilities or inconsistency, like, because we all got them. We all have problems and issues and everything. And the growth mindset step 1 is to take a step back and realize that you are not all of your faults. You are operating your body. You are not just your body. And then move forward from there and try to improve. And then, so you got to identify, to wrap it all up here, you got to identify the things in your head that are wrong or bad assumptions, and a good mentor will help you tease these out and find a way to change it. Yeah. Good luck.
Because what was that quote? It was like, a fool learns from his own mistakes, a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. I mean, man, if you can learn from the mistakes of your mentors or people who have gone before you, holy smokes, that's going to accelerate you so much faster than, other people around you trying to do the same thing.
That I wish I could take that advice, because we're so incredibly stubborn.
We are so stubborn.
People have told us time and time again our faults and and like what we're gonna screw up with, and then we're like, "No, I won't. I'll be fine." And then we do it, and then we fail, and then we're like, "Oh, we were there. You were right."
Yeah.
So anyway, that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Announcement. Do we have any announcements? We're back. Sorry.
Yep.
Not sorry for skipping a few weeks. Hope you guys have I think this is coming out the week of Christmas. So
yes,
everybody have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a Happy Holidays, or whatever. Positive energy into the world, in your direction.
Yes.
Whatever that may be.
Enjoy time around friends and family. And we hope you can truly find some happiness during this, 2020 holidays.
2020 is almost over.
It is. If nothing else, find happiness in that. Find happiness in something. I don't care if it's a Christmas cookie or if it's your dog or that you're seeing 20 family members. Find it somewhere.
Yep.
So.
All right. You want to tease next week's topic?
Next week's topic is going to be quit thinking outside the box.
What?
But my high school teacher told me that I was always supposed to think outside the box.
Well, that's not always the case for us.
Anyways. All right. So we'll talk to you guys next week.